Every time you beg for help, you confirm your position beneath the person you are begging from. And here is what almost no one understands: they do not reward your vulnerability with compassion. They reward it with contempt. You think you are showing trust. You think you are being authentic. What you are actually doing is handing them a map of your weakness, and then acting surprised when they use it to navigate straight past you. This is the first thing Machiavelli understood about power, and it is the thing you still refuse to accept. People are not moved by your need. They are moved by their own. The moment you appeal to someone's mercy, you have already lost. You have announced your inferiority. You have placed yourself in the position of the supplicant, the beggar, the one who needs something the other person has. And the person on the other side of that transaction does not feel generous. They feel powerful. And power, once tasted in that dynamic, does not produce kindness. It produces distance. It produces a quiet reclassification of you as someone beneath them. Someone who can be managed. Someone who can be dismissed. I want you to sit with that for a moment. Think about the last time you asked someone for a favor from a place of genuine need. Not a casual request, a real one. Something that mattered. Something where you swallowed your pride and reached out. Now think about what happened after. Did they help you with enthusiasm? Or did they help you slowly, reluctantly, with a performance of generosity that was really a performance of superiority? Did they hold it over you? Did they mention it later? Did something shift in the dynamic between you, something subtle, something you felt but could not name? That shift was hierarchy reasserting itself. You handed them the higher ground, and they took it. Not because they are cruel. Because that is how power works. Generosity from above is never free. It always comes with a leash. So here is the thesis I want you to hold on to for the next 30 minutes, and then for the rest of your life. Attention is temporary. Leverage is permanent. And the person who structures every interaction around the other person's self-interest never has to beg for anything, because they never need to. They make the other person want to give. This is not about manipulation in the way most people use that word. This is about understanding the actual machinery of human motivation. People do what serves them. That is not a flaw in human nature. It is the mechanism. And if you understand the mechanism, you can work with it instead of throwing yourself against it and wondering why you keep getting bruised. What I am going to give you is a framework. 7 principles. Each one dismantles a piece of the begging mindset and replaces it with something Machiavelli would recognize: the ruthless art of making other people pursue your interests as if those interests were their own. By the end, you will never ask for mercy again. Not because you will become cold. Because you will become precise. Let us begin. Number 1. Never appeal to mercy. Appeal to interest. This is the foundational move, and everything else builds on it. When you ask someone for help out of need, you are making a specific argument. You are saying, I am in pain, I am struggling, I cannot do this alone, and therefore you should help me. That argument sounds reasonable to you because you feel the pain. But the person hearing it is processing something completely different. They are processing the power dynamic. They are calculating what your weakness costs them, what your neediness demands of them, and what they get in return for their trouble. And the answer to that last question, what they get in return, is usually nothing. Your relief is not their reward. Your gratitude is not their currency. Gratitude is a debt people resent paying. Machiavelli understood this 500 years ago. He said, essentially, that a man who wants something from another man should never appeal to what that man owes him. He should appeal to what that man wants for himself. Because self-interest is the only lever that does not snap under pressure. Loyalty bends. Gratitude evaporates. Obligation curdles into resentment. But self-interest is steel. It holds. It is reliable because it does not depend on the other person's goodness. It depends on their appetite. And appetite is the most predictable force in human nature. So when you need something from someone, you do not say, "I need this, please help me." You say something entirely different. You say, "Here is what you gain by giving me what I want." You restructure the request so that the other person's cooperation is not a sacrifice they make for you. It is an investment they make in themselves. And the moment you do that, the entire dynamic flips. You are no longer beneath them. You are beside them. You are a partner in their gain, not a burden on their conscience. This sounds simple, and it is. But almost no one does it. Almost no one does it because it requires you to stop thinking about your own need and start thinking about the other person's desire. And that is a cognitive shift most people never make. They are too busy drowning in their own urgency to notice that the other person is standing on dry land, looking at them with mild curiosity, wondering what's in it for me. So here is what I want you to take from this first principle. Every request you ever make should answer one question before it is even asked. What does the other person get? Not what do they owe you. Not what would be decent of them. What do they get? If you cannot answer that question, do not make the request yet. Go back and restructure it until you can. Because an unstructured request, a raw, naked appeal for help, is not a request. It is a confession of weakness, and it will be treated as one. Number 2. Make them come to you. This is the second move, and it is the one that separates people who understand power from people who merely talk about it. When you chase someone, when you pursue them, when you push your agenda on them, when you repeatedly approach them with your needs, you are doing two things at once. You are signaling that you need them more than they need you, and you are giving them the power to set the terms. Every time you reach out, every time you follow up, every time you circle back, you are eroding your own position. You are teaching them that you will keep coming, that you will absorb rejection, that you will lower your price. Machiavelli would never chase. Machiavelli would bait. Baiting is the art of creating a situation so attractive that the other person comes to you voluntarily. You do not pursue them. You do not convince them. You construct something, an opportunity, a scenario, a piece of information, a position, that pulls them in. They approach you because they want what you are holding. And the moment they approach, you are in control. Not because you forced them. Because they chose to come. And when someone chooses to come to you, they have already conceded the power dynamic before a single word of negotiation is spoken. Think about what this means in practice. If you want a mentor, you do not send a desperate message saying, "I really admire you and I would love to learn from you." That is begging. That is announcing that you have nothing to offer and everything to receive. Instead, you create a situation where your value becomes visible to them without you having to announce it. You do something remarkable in a space they care about. You build something that intersects with their interests. You position yourself in their field of vision not as a supplicant but as a signal that says, this person is going somewhere, and being near them is going to be valuable. And then you wait. You wait with stoic patience. You do not chase. You do not send a second message. You do not wonder why they have not responded. You continue building, continue moving, continue becoming the kind of person that other people seek out. Because here is the truth that most people cannot handle. The people who are most worth knowing are not looking for people who need them. They are looking for people who are going to make them better, sharper, more powerful. They are looking for peers, not dependents. When you chase, you announce yourself as a dependent. When you bait, you announce yourself as an opportunity. The difference is everything. Number 3. Never show your desperation, even when you feel it. This is where most people fail, and they fail because they do not understand the difference between feeling desperate and showing desperate. You will feel desperate. That is human. You will have moments where the stakes are high, where the outcome matters, where everything feels like it is riding on this one interaction. Feeling that is not weakness. Showing it is. Because desperation is repellent. Not because people lack compassion. Because desperation signals something specific and dangerous. It signals that you are in a situation you cannot control. It signals that your judgment is compromised by need. It signals that if someone helps you now, they are attaching themselves to a sinking ship. And people, even good people, do not want to be on sinking ships. They want to be on vessels that are moving. They want to be near momentum, not near desperation. So here is what you do. You feel the desperation fully. You let it move through you. And then you set it down. You set it down the way Marcus Aurelius would have, not by pretending it does not exist, but by recognizing that it is a feeling, not a fact. It is weather, not terrain. It passes. And while it passes, you hold your composure. You hold it because composure is not a performance for the other person. Composure is a discipline you practice on yourself so that you do not make decisions from a place of need. When you enter a negotiation, a conversation, a request, and you are desperate inside but calm outside, you have already won the first battle. The other person cannot read your urgency, so they cannot exploit it. They cannot set their price based on your need because they cannot see your need. They see a calm person making a proposal. And calm people, in the psychology of power, are treated as strong people. Because calm implies options. Calm implies that you could walk away. Calm implies that this is not life or death for you, even if it feels like it is. And that implication, that you could walk away, is the most powerful negotiating position in the world. Not because you will walk away, but because the other person believes you might. And belief is everything. They do not need to know you are desperate. They need to believe you are not. And that belief will change how they treat your request. It will change the speed of their response. It will change the terms they offer. It will change everything, because people treat calm people as equals and desperate people as problems. So learn this. Your desperation is private. Your composure is public. Never confuse the two. Never let the private leak into the public. The moment desperation becomes visible, your value drops. Not because you have changed. Because the other person's perception of your options has changed. And perception is the only currency that matters in the moment of the ask. Number 4. Restructure every request as a transaction, not a favor. This is the principle that will change your relationships more than any other. And it will change them because it will change how people see you. Right now, you are probably operating on a model of human exchange that goes something like this. I help you when I can. You help me when you can. We are decent to each other. We are generous. We do not keep score. That model sounds beautiful. It is also a fantasy. And it is a fantasy that benefits the people above you and costs the people at your level. Here is what actually happens in the model of unspoken reciprocity. The person with more power gives less and is thanked more. The person with less power gives more and is thanked less. Because favors, in a power hierarchy, flow upward. The person at the bottom does favors to maintain access. The person at the top accepts favors to maintain hierarchy. And the currency is never balanced. The person at the bottom always owes more than they are owed, because their favors are worth less in the economy of power, and the person at the top's favors are worth more. So when you ask for a favor, you are entering this economy. And you are entering it at a disadvantage. You are saying, I have nothing to offer right now except my gratitude and my future goodwill. And in the economy of power, gratitude is a depreciating asset and future goodwill is a promise no one is obligated to keep. The shift is this. Stop asking for favors. Start proposing transactions. A favor is asymmetric. One person gives, the other receives. A transaction is symmetric. Both people give and both people receive. And the psychological difference between the two is enormous. When someone does you a favor, they feel magnanimous and you feel indebted. When someone enters a transaction with you, you both feel like equals. You both feel like you got something. You both feel like the exchange was fair. So you do not say, "Can you introduce me to your contact at that company?" That is a favor. That is begging. Instead, you say, "I have been building something that your contact would probably find valuable. If you connect us and it works out, you will have been the person who made it happen. And I will make sure that is known." That is a transaction. You are offering them something, social capital, the credit for a connection, the position of being a kingmaker, in exchange for what you want. You have restructured the request so that their action is not a sacrifice. It is a strategic move that benefits them. Do you see the difference? Do you see how the entire emotional weight of the request shifts? In the favor model, you are a burden. In the transaction model, you are an opportunity. In the favor model, they are doing you a kindness. In the transaction model, they are making an investment. And people are infinitely more motivated by investments than by kindnesses. Because investments have returns. Kindnesses only have costs. Every request you ever make should be a transaction. Every single one. Not because you are cold. Not because you are transactional in your relationships. But because you understand that structuring requests as transactions protects you from the contempt that follows begging, and it protects the other person from the resentment that follows being asked for something for nothing. It is better for everyone. It is just better for you first. Number 5. Let silence do the heavy lifting. This is the principle that feels the most uncomfortable and delivers the most power. When you make a request, a well-structured, self-interest aligned, transactional request, and the other person does not immediately respond, what do? You follow up. You elaborate. You add more reasons. You soften the ask. You explain yourself. You apologize for bothering them. Each of these moves is a retreat. Each one signals that you are not confident in the value of what you proposed. Each one tells the other person that even you do not believe your offer is worth their time. Silence is the opposite. Silence says, "I have made my offer. It is a good offer. I know it is a good offer. And I am going to let you sit with it. I am not going to chase you. I am not going to fill the space with more words. I am not going to dilute my proposal with explanations and justifications. I made the offer. The offer speaks for itself. And now the ball is in your court. This is extraordinarily difficult for most people. Most people are terrified of silence. They experience silence as rejection. They experience silence as judgment. They experience silence as the other person losing interest. And so they fill it. They fill it with noise, with apologies, with additional incentives, with nervous energy that leaks through their words. And every bit of noise they add makes the original offer weaker. Machiavelli would never fill a silence. He would let it sit. He would let it do its work. Because silence in a negotiation is not empty. Silence is pressure. Silence is the space in which the other person has to think about what you said, weigh it, consider what they might lose by not engaging, and come to their own conclusion. And a conclusion the other person reaches on their own is worth 10 conclusions you argued them into. Because when they reach it themselves, they own it. When you argue them into it, they will resent you for it. So here is the practice. You make your proposal. You state it clearly. You state it once. And then you stop. You do not follow up the same day. You do not send a polite check-in. You do not add a postscript explaining why it really matters. You let the proposal exist in silence, and you let that silence create the conditions for the other person to come to you. And here is what happens in that silence. The other person thinks about your offer. They think about what you said. And because you did not chase them, they start to wonder why you are not chasing them. They start to wonder if they are missing something. They start to wonder if the offer is better than they initially thought, because clearly you are not desperate for them to accept it. And that wonder, that subtle uncertainty about whether they are undervaluing what you proposed, is worth more than any follow-up message you could ever send. Silence is not passive. Silence is strategic. Silence is the space in which the other person persuades themselves. And self-persuasion is the only persuasion that lasts. Number 6. Become the person they want to be associated with. This principle is the long game. Everything I have given you so far is tactical: how to structure a request, how to hold composure, how to use silence. This principle is strategic. It is about who you are over time, not what you do in a single interaction. And it is the principle that ultimately makes all the others unnecessary, because when you become the right kind of person, you stop needing to make requests at all. People start coming to you. Here is the mechanism. People want to be associated with power, competence, and momentum. They want to be near people who are going somewhere. They want to be near people who make them feel like they are part of something larger than themselves. This is not vanity. This is survival instinct. People associate with rising people because proximity to power is itself a form of power. And proximity to weakness is itself a form of weakness. So the question is not, how do I get this person to help me? The question is, how do I become the kind of person this person wants to help? And those are completely different questions with completely different answers. The first question leads you to tactics, to persuasion, to negotiation. The second question leads you to self-development, to building something real, to becoming someone whose trajectory other people want to attach themselves to. When you are rising, when you are visibly building something, visibly improving, visibly moving in a direction that matters, people do not need to be asked for help. They volunteer it. They offer it because they want to be part of your story. They want to be able to say, I knew them when. They want to be able to say, I helped them early. They want the credit for having identified you before everyone else did. And that desire, the desire to be the one who discovered you, who backed you, who was there before the crowd, is one of the most powerful forces in human social behavior. Machiavelli understood this. He knew that a prince who is rising does not need to beg for alliances. Alliances come to the prince who is rising. Because everyone wants to be on the winning side. Everyone wants to back the horse that is gaining speed. No one wants to back the horse that is stumbling. So your job, your real job, the one that matters more than any single negotiation, is to become the horse that is gaining speed. Build something. Get better at something. Become visibly competent at something that matters. Create a body of work, a track record, a reputation that precedes you. And as that reputation grows, the power dynamic in every interaction shifts in your favor. You stop being the person who asks. You start being the person who is asked. And that transition, from asker to asked, from supplicant to opportunity, is the most important transition in your entire life. Because it is the transition from dependence to sovereignty. It is the moment you stop needing anyone's mercy and start commanding their interest. This takes time. I am not going to pretend it does not. It takes years of building, of getting rejected, of failing in private, of improving when no one is watching. But those years are not a cost. They are an investment. They are the price of the leverage that will make every future interaction easier. And the people who are unwilling to pay that price, the people who want shortcuts, who want to beg their way to the top, who want to be carried by other people's goodwill, those people will spend the rest of their lives wondering why no one takes them seriously. Because they never became worth taking seriously. Number 7. Walk away from anyone who wants you small. This is the final principle, and it is the one that requires the most courage. Because it asks you to give up something you probably want, approval, access, a relationship, an opportunity, in order to protect something you need. Your power. Your self-respect. Your position. Here is what happens when you beg. Not immediately, not in the moment of the ask. But over time. Over many asks. Over many small surrenders. Each time you beg, you shrink. Not in the eyes of the world, in your own eyes. Each time you place yourself beneath someone and ask for their mercy, you teach yourself that you are beneath them. And that teaching compounds. It accumulates. It becomes a belief. And the belief becomes a posture. And the posture becomes a life. This is the cost I have been naming throughout this entire conversation. The cost of begging is not just the contempt of others. The cost of begging is the erosion of your own self-concept. Every time you ask from weakness, you become weaker. Not because the world punishes you. Because you punish yourself. You internalize the hierarchy. You start to believe that you are the person who needs and they are the person who has. And once you believe that, every interaction confirms it. Every relationship reflects it. Every room you walk into, you enter as the person who needs something from someone in it. And here is the darkest part. There are people who want you in that position. There are people who benefit from your smallness. Not because they are evil. Because your smallness makes them feel large. Your need makes them feel needed. Your dependence makes them feel powerful. And they will encourage it. They will create conditions where you have to keep asking. They will withhold help just long enough to make you beg a little harder. They will give you just enough to keep you dependent but never enough to make you free. Marcus Aurelius would have recognized these people instantly. He would have called them what they are, obstacles to your sovereignty. And he would have told you to walk past them without anger, without resentment, without drama. Just walk. Walk away from anyone who needs you small in order to feel big. Walk away from anyone who answers your strength with hostility. Walk away from anyone who makes you feel that your value is conditional on your deference. This is not cruelty. This is clarity. And clarity, in the Machiavellian sense, is the highest form of self-respect. Because you are saying, I know what I am worth. I know what I bring. And I will not place myself in a position where my worth is determined by someone else's generosity. I would rather have nothing on my own terms than everything on theirs. That is the walk-away principle. And it is the most powerful negotiating tool you possess. Not because you will always use it, but because the other person will always know you are willing to. And that willingness, that visible, palpable readiness to leave, is what separates the person who is respected from the person who is managed. Because here is the truth that ties all 7 principles together. Being liked is not being respected. Being needed is not being valued. Being helped is not being powerful. And the person who begs for help will receive it, sometimes, grudgingly, with strings attached, with a cost that is never fully disclosed until it is too late. But the person who makes others want to give, that person receives without asking, without owing, without shrinking. That person walks through the world with their head up, not because they are arrogant, but because they have earned the right to hold their position. They have built something. They have structured their interactions around mutual gain. They have held their composure when it would have been easier to collapse. They have used silence as a weapon and patience as a strategy. And they have walked away from anyone who wanted them small. That person does not beg. That person never has to. Because they have made themselves into the kind of person that others pursue. And that pursuit, that voluntary, self-interested, hungry pursuit, is the only form of help worth receiving. Because it comes without contempt. It comes without leverage. It comes without a leash. I want you to go back to the beginning now. Go back to that thing I said at the start. Every time you beg for help, you confirm your position beneath the person you are begging from. And they reward your weakness with contempt. That is the pattern. That is the cost. That is what has been quietly taken from you every time you have swallowed your pride and reached out from a place of need. Not just the favor you did not receive. Not just the relationship that shifted. But the piece of yourself you surrendered in the asking. The small reduction in your own estimation. The quiet internalization of a hierarchy that says, they are above me, I am below them, this is the natural order. It is not the natural order. It is a pattern. And patterns can be broken. So here is what I want you to do. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Not when you feel ready. Right now. Think of one request you have been making from weakness. One thing you have been begging for, maybe not with those words, maybe not with that posture, but with that energy. That energy of need, of supplication, of please, I really need this. Take that request and apply what I have given you. Restructure it so the other person sees their own gain. Strip the desperation from your voice, even if you have to fake the composure at first, because pretending to be calm will eventually make you calm. State it once. Then go silent. Let the silence do what your follow-up messages never could. And if they do not respond to a well-structured, self-interest-aligned, transactional proposal delivered with composure and followed by silence, walk away. Not with anger. Not with a speech. Just walk. Because someone who does not see the value in what you are offering is not someone you need. They are someone who needs you to be smaller than you are becoming. And you do not have time for that. You have building to do. You have a trajectory to maintain. You have a self-concept to protect. Machiavelli perfected this ruthless art 500 years ago. He understood that mercy is a trap, that self-interest is the only reliable lever, and that the person who controls the structure of the request controls the outcome of the exchange. He understood that chasing reveals weakness and baiting reveals power. He understood that silence is not absence, silence is pressure. He understood that the highest form of influence is not persuasion. It is becoming the kind of person that others persuade themselves to pursue. That ruthless art, the art of never begging, of making them want to give, of holding your position with stoic composure while the other person comes to you, that art is no longer Machiavelli's. It is yours. It has been yours since the moment you understood that begging costs you more than it gives you. The only question is whether you have the discipline to practice it. So practice it. Right now, not tomorrow. In your very next interaction. Restructure the request. Hold the composure. Use the silence. Walk if you must. And do it again the next time, and the next time, and the time after that, until it becomes automatic. Until the begging instinct is gone. Until the part of you that used to reach out from weakness has been replaced by a part that builds from strength. That is the work. That is the path. That is how you stop being the person who needs and start being the person who is needed. And the distance between those two people, the person who needs and the person who is needed, that distance is the entire game. That distance is power. And power, once you stop begging for it and start building it, is the one thing no one can take from you. You want to prove you have understood this. Not to me. To yourself. Go to the comments right now and write these 4 words. I am untouchable. Not because you are invincible. Not because you will never struggle again. But because you have decided, in this moment, that you will never again place yourself beneath another person by begging for what you could earn, build, or bait. You are untouchable because you have stopped reaching up and started standing firm. And standing firm, in your value, in your composure, in your refusal to beg, is the most dangerous position a person can hold. The ruthless art Machiavelli perfected, now it is yours. Use it.